QTRs. I've seen Google Trends match extremely well for the product selling, almost magical. Wow, that's interesting. Now it does help because you do have a lot of very similar SKUs, but what that means is if your in-platform data is matching the actual result, remove the extremities. Don't go crazy. Like if there's anything that's like, wow, that kind of sucks one off direction that way, like just remove it. Because if your data inside of that is accurate, your job right now is only to protect and scale. So try to identify the leaks and the gaps and the holes. Stop those. That would be something like, okay, if there's individual campaigns with negative keywords, clean out the negative keywords in your best performing campaign. And maybe also in your worst performing campaign, so you don't shift junk traffic into the worst performing accounts. So try to protect those accounts as much as possible. That will be very, very helpful for you to at least track an in-platform trend to your metrics. I've seen Google Trends be accurate in, yes, just directionally.
It's not volume at all for sure. It's
if graph
even
goes,
the keyword planner is not like volume based.
Yeah, it's like if the graph goes like hard bottom left to hard top right, okay,
percentages.
There is an increase in activity. That's what that tells you.
It's all percentage based ratio. It's definitely not accurate, but it'll give you a direction.
It's as important as this is better than that. What this is and if it's accurate doesn't matter. This one's up here.
It went up. Cool. We're good. All right. Awesome. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. Structure the feeder strategy for e-commerce. One PMAX 2 rows 500%. One standard shopping campaign 2 rows 300. How should they be in bid for new existing customers? Oh, so you can bid for only new customers. It actually doesn't matter anyway. Google's just going to ignore it. But I figured, better to check the box and have Google ignore it than to not do it.
Make the trend go in that direction.
Exactly. You want to bid only for new customers because that's trying to remarket the traffic you're bringing in from standard shopping. And hopefully you're not bringing in all brand from standard shopping. Then this is going to work. But your T ROAS of 300% is way too high, in my opinion. That's pushing that CPC into PMAX CPC territory. You want PMAX CPC territory to be like definitely under $1, better if it's under like 75 cents. And you want your standard shopping campaign to not be judged by TROAS. You want to judge your standard shopping campaign by position and placement. One thing that I teach often is this right here. So for example, watch how stupid this is, but your CPC level is not dictated technically by anything that is of your choosing. It is really more about, is Google screwing you over this week? So what I found
That's the quote of the day right there.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Is Google just, picking on you today? Or is Google being a bully? So what's interesting about this is I have a campaign that I've been running for a long time called Heatless Test. And this is something that I made a case study on. Did I say case study?
Case study.
I did a freaking case study on it. It was wicked good. I'm from Boston. Get in the car. All right, so here we go. So what's interesting about this is CPC. There we go. So what's interesting, my CPC started off on like kind of 126, 140. It's kind of been reducing down to 120, 128 here, which has been good. I've stopped tracking conversions a long time ago in this account, back in May for this campaign. I called it "How Could You Be So Heatless?" because I was bored one day and I figured that was a song stuck in my head that I just made that ad group. I'm the only one that looks at this stuff. So, but what's cool about this is if you look at, let's do this here. There we go. My standard shopping multiple products, that gets an average of 236. However, isolate one product out of there and then run a manual test on it. You're going to get $1.33, and the other manual test that doesn't track conversions is $1.60. So I saved myself about $1 in CPC. But if you look inside of the search campaign of standard shopping for this Heatless, and you look at the product, the search terms that are coming in, because I can't go fast enough with my fingers, I'm getting majority.
Now we wait.
There we go. Heatless curls, heatless curlers. I mean, this thing is dialed in. It's perfect. And I'm getting a #1 placement for heatless curls. I'm beating Amazon, Temu, Walmart, Ulta. I'm beating everybody. And I pay $1 less because I didn't track conversions. Now, what that means is that your TROAS target will take a identification of a group of people. And if your target can be achieved for more money, Google will charge you more to make sure that they take more profit than get the result you achieve. A 40% TROAS target is going to spike up your CPC. All that's willing to achieve is good placement. I could get there by not tracking conversions and look at placement measured by MER. That saves me $3. If you can do that too. But you're looking solely for positioning. Your standard shopping is looking solely for positioning. That is what your bidding strategy dictates, because you want to push your TROAS out of the first position. That's reserved for your non-brand cold traffic. That other one is reserved for marketing.
Super important point, because shopping and search feeder are very different. Search is trying to go for volume. Shopping is positioning, like John said.
So search should also go for some positioning as well.
You're using like max clicks in the strategy because you're trying to just get as much volume, like high qualified clicks, which could be, top placement though, depending on. Now it's changed. Are we changing stuff again, John?
We're changing shit every freaking day. That's why this is.
Are we swapped from max clicks now to manual?
I have no idea,
man. An account right now on max clicks still, so
we're doing all sorts of stupid things over here. So here's what's interesting is, depending upon the level of competition, and I'm going to mess this up because we've been changing everything since November. So let me just share with you a simple use case. Should be east. Let me pause my camera. This is just going to go faster. Give me like 10 seconds to put this together, because this is actually really, really interesting for everyone to see here.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to do so many updates for the school.
Oh, dude, this thing is gonna be. This is why this is just better live. Okay.
I'm gonna do so many updates. We have Facebook updates coming in too for the school community, so that's gonna be fun.
There you go. All right, so we got our clicks campaigns. But these all had ad spend on them. All right, so let's just take like Gold East Valley and Gold East Valley OG. All right, so spent $6,000, spent 12. Let's see here. Max clicks, $46 a click. OG campaign using TCPA, 19. Conversion rate 12, conversion rate 12.
Well, I will say that
watch click the rate 8% because of half warm traffic waiting on it, 14.27% when you're looking at positioning. Aha, crazy click the rates on max clicks now. And each time max clicks spikes up CPC, we get a good positioning and a good placement. But I want the high conversion rate, high click-through rate on everybody I can afford, but I'm not going to spend all of my money there. And so what's kind of interesting is, good. What were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, the click-through rate makes sense because you're optimizing for essentially a higher click-through rate. Like, that's pretty much the goal of max clicks, is to get as many clicks as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But the higher CPC, I can see that because it's exact match though. So remember, like, because we've been talking about back and forth broad match one-offs versus like exact match. Mm-hmm. Is the TCPA still broad match like in there, or has it swapped to exact match because it's very niche down? I don't know the accounts. That's why I'm curious.
Say it one more time.
So are you running exact match or broad match on the TCPA campaign?
Broad match on TCPA and exact still match on max clicks. Now this is on max clicks, but I'm doing stuff from before because we noticed some really weird oddities. Watches East Valley. This is on TCPA. This is on max clicks back then. It's already spent 5 and it's already continue on. This one spent 1,000. Now the click, or let's do this. CPC $19.40. Okay.
That's a wow for watches.
Way higher CPC. Conversion rate 8 versus 16. So my max clicks has doubled the conversion rate than my TCPA campaign. 16% conversion, 8.25. $40 CPC 20, 14% click the rate compared to 12.9. My CPA 234, 237, $3 difference from each other. And I doubled the CPC because it also doubles the conversion rate. Your positioning matters more on an individual use base than what TCPA will allow you to get. Because if I bid high and double my conversion rate, I could probably get the same CPA, but it did not do that. I had to go and force it to do that and got a $3 difference, but allowed us to, when we tested this, just an additional 5K, we added $1,000 to that campaign at existing performance that TCPA still and will not spend. So it's kind of interesting how feeder strategy, how those two interact. I could use max clicks and double the CPC and just get the same exact results. So when we're looking at for max clicks, I want to have the highest position with the highest amount of relevancy, but I'm not spending the highest amount of my ad spend there.
Yeah, because based off of just what you're seeing trend line wise, because you max out lower potential people that can get scooped up. I'd be curious though on watches specifically, because I feel like people would shop around for that. Like it's interesting that it's on the first click, but
This is to
that's
sell your watch.
potentially what's up?
This is to sell your stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's completely different. So not
Yeah.
people shopping around, people just want to get rid of it. Okay, that
Selling
makes
watches,
sense.
jewelry, diamonds. Yeah. But what's funny is we
Yeah.
said sell watches. Well, there's a bunch of people that are bidding $100 because they want your Rolex. And TCPA is like, well, shit, if I bid 100, I'll go above goal. So I'm going to
Yeah.
hide down at the bottom and not spend any money. The Max Clicks comes in and says, fuck it, I'll take that position. And it's like, oh my God, if TCPA knew that you could double your conversion rate, it would have done that. It just didn't think. Remember, it's always did it think, it didn't know. It did not think or it did not know. One of those two. But when I ran it was saying, hey, don't be prejudiced against the people that you don't think will convert. If I put myself up there with a different bidding strategy, same result, only better click the rate and better conversion rate. I can scale that one to the point where it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, that's the thing that I was going to ask next was with the Max Clicks campaign, are you just cranking that one up and watching the CPA based on like the demand, or like how is that
This is
even possible?
this is a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth with this. Long story short, there was kind of a miscommunication with this test. I said the strategy should be spend 20% on max clicks and 80% of your spend on your standard campaign. Let's see if it starts to take effect. Well, the main campaign was on like $5,000 a day, but it was only spending $1,000. So
That's even worse.
so they put $1,000 per day spend on the max clicks. So you spend 1,000 in the main campaign and 1,000 on max clicks. And I'm like, things are getting really expensive. I'm like, what happened to the 80-20 I told you to do? He's like, well, I set the budget that way. I'm like, you gotta set
Watch
the
it.
budget. You gotta set the budget as to what you're spending, not
Yeah.
just like change that to $1 billion. Nothing's gonna happen. It still won't spend, but it doesn't mean you use 200 million as your 20%. Like
that's like the main thing in accounts too, where they'll have like crazy budgets and it's spending like a fraction of like the budget, like under like 10% of the budget because the ROAS or the CPA is just set way too high. But
so unfortunately, with this test with this particular client, when I ask things like, "Hey, what's your daily ad spend?" They tell me 14,000. My question isn't no. What do you have enabled? I'm saying what's actually happening. And this is yesterday, for example. And so that's the bad part is like, yep, it's able to spend all this money. It's like, no. Everything enabled is 14 grand. You spent 380. So when I say 20%, I don't mean 20% of that. I mean 20% of that. They didn't do that. And so they end up spending a while. The person's like, oh, this isn't working. And they added a whole bunch of negative keywords. So the owner's like, hey, this isn't really working out. Let's take John on a different account because me and him just weren't really driving. That's the problem with consulting clients, though. Sometimes it doesn't execute the way they want it to.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Anywho.
No, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So, but in theory, to answer the question, if the max clicks is working at that same CPA, you would just push until you start to see the CPA fail then.
Yeah, we did that a few times and it worked. Okay. What's funny is we added $500 and the combined totals of those two scaled up. And it actually worked really, really, really well. They just didn't read it well or give it time, and we did talk about it. But we can kind of see like this thing where they couldn't scale, and it was like, okay, so we're down here, 11,000 for 40, and it was like 22,000 for 80. I'm like, yeah, that's a doubling. Like they couldn't spend. Now it was way overspent, but you see the conversions were nice until they started pausing things last week. So I was like, yeah, it's cool. I'll just take a step back. But yeah, I mean, couldn't spend into equal scale. Exactly. Add in feeder strategy and 5 and 10 go to 10 and 20.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, it makes sense. I mean, it's interesting because it's just two different algorithms is what it comes down to. And you're trying to maximize each one. So yeah, that makes sense. Also saying this just because this video is going to be edited as well. We're no longer running L1, 2, and 3. I've been asked that question like 4 times now from people that aren't in the school community. Or not running L1, 2, and 3. That is old. That is like 2 months ago old.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, the kind of newest is feeder strategy, and that really kind of consists of now just an L0 and an L1. We're testing manual versus Advantage Plus to see which one, Advantage Plus or manual, does better at cold traffic engagement, warming them up, and then what campaign type does better at converting them. You got to match
it. Updated in the school community.
Yeah. So that's been what has been working so far. Exactly.
And this one account too, I think I'll use as the case study, John, if we can get it to work. So
let's do it. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
We have another question, then we do have to jump. And then next week we'll kind of cover like the questions and topics. I hope this was valuable enough. If you can say, hey, how do I use Shopify to identify NCAC and LTV and scaling customers, year over year? Like we could probably do a video on each one of these live, like how to find LTV, how to find NCAC, how to do predictable scale quarter over quarter for the existing core products. We could make an individual video for each one of those. I just wanted to group it together to kind of get people to be like, okay, I'm smart enough that I'm comfortable enough and smart enough to be like, yeah, I can take this over and take it from here. And if so, great. This is the core place to go where we teach advanced topics. So that's why you all are here. I think we got one more question though, too, from Diogo.
Let me pull this up.
Continue testing bid for new and returning and bid only. And I noticed some significant differences in the flow of campaigns. That's what I'm considering. The goal is to scale new clients. Yes. So it's not to say that it will never work or it will always work.
This is in reference to PMAX, by the way.
Yes. So it's using new customer acquisition. And I'll share with you something that I thought was actually kind of funny. So if we look at this time period here, this is actually also a feeder strategy enabled. So this and these two are together, and we ran feeder strategy. So nice increase in conversions for cost, like everything's looking hunky-dory. Now, Performance Max NCA has a identified list. It's like limited by budget, hey, we can scale here, blah, blah. But we have been, since inception of this entire campaign over a year ago, only been bidding for new customers. So what happened, though, if you just compare this time period to the exact time period before that, as we know Google has been decaying in accuracy. If we look at the new versus returning customers, let's check ratios. So we know that we have in non-brand a 5 to 71 and a 0 to 17. Good. So that's scaling more new than returning when it can be identified. Performance Max bidding only for new customers got a 236% increase in its own customers. And then a 143% increase in new customers. So you can see where we put the cost, 300 grand versus 100 grand. But what's nice is we can see that 164 did turn into 199. Fine. So some existing customers did convert. But if we look at the amount of new, it's 3,600 plus 60. So basically, let's call it 3,700. And 12 and 17, so 1,250, let's call it 1,260. So basically, 3 times the growth of new customers compared to returning. But that's also because we added feeder strategy. This did not do this at any other time of year. So it's going to do whatever it wants. But just because you enable it for new customers, we saw a 236% increase in returning customers on an account that's been using new customer only. Well, there's really no input that we have inside of Performance Max that actually matters anymore.
Well, and one thing on top of that too is in that screen that you showed, it was showing unknown was dropped off like significantly as well too. So I wonder if those users just got identified, like the algorithm was like, oh, I think these are new. Oh, they're not. Okay, they're returned.
Right. That's what's bad is like, yeah, this will definitely drop. This will also increase. Probably the amount of unknown that was in PMAX has finally shifted into standard shopping because this is pre-click. So pre-click means I'm not going to be able to identify who these people are until they earn a click. Technically, until you send them through enhanced conversions, and then Google says, yeah, that actually did come from us. So you're telling me,
or you can even, I would even say like like you said, enhanced conversions through the actual conversion action. Sorry.
Well, what's exactly what you said. Well, when you do enhanced conversions through the conversion action, you have to send it to Google after they've already bought for then Google to be like, yeah, that did come from me. Yeah. So if I have to do that before you can tell if it's a new returning customer, how the hell are you even pushing them away pre-click? You can't. So you see that these shift out, this shift in, the unknowns left here and came in. And that is because this is all still pre-click. So when it's post-click, like warm traffic, Google's like, okay, thank you. Now I know who they are. And even though they're existing customers, I'm still going to go after them. So nothing matters anymore. That's why, again, unfortunately, feeder strategy is what I've developed in order to try to combat multiple issues with these campaign types at the same time.
And it's working. It's just a matter of you're segmenting top and bottom. So
yeah,
a lot easier than just in PMAX.
It's our fight for cold traffic against our oligarchs who are fixing that to a finite number for us.
It's true though. It's true. So I don't know. I think that like I said, we've been saying the trend for this year is going to be, traffic versus the API or the actual conversions, and having 2 different lanes you're kind of playing in, and then just kind of going from there. Audiences are dead.
Yep.
are dying, and so
Exactly right.
this next year is going to be all about algorithms.